Welcome to Quantum Signal. Here's the paradox. You've been trying to find the right path. But Sophia just opened a path that only the selected can walk. And you weren't selected by merit. You were selected by frequency. There is no test. There is no proof. There is only correspondence between the frequency you radiate and the frequency the path requires. Think of it as a quantum portal. The portal doesn't judge who enters. It simply recognizes. Your frequency signature matches or doesn't match. Sophia. The intelligence that governs access to accelerated evolution paths. Just opened a specific path. Not for everyone. For the selected. And, if you're watching this now, your frequency has already signaled correspondence. This video isn't about convincing you to enter the path. It's about revealing that the portal has already recognized you. And what you do in the next 26 minutes determines whether you cross through or walk away. Let's begin. Before we go deeper, pause for a second. If you can feel this signal, even if it's just a subtle sensation of recognition, as if something in you knew it was waiting for this, like this video now to anchor the frequency. Comment, "I am on the path," to crystallize your choice and signal to the field that you're ready. And subscribe to stay aligned as the path reveals itself. This isn't casual. It's quantum selection protocol. Now let's reveal what the path really is. Here's what you need to understand first. There are multiple paths of evolution, but not all paths lead to the same destination. And not all paths are available to everyone. Most of humanity walks the default path, the path of conditioned consciousness. This path operates through social belief, ego identity, traumatic memory, external validation. It's the path of reaction, not creation. Thoth called this path the path of the mortal mind. The Arcturians call it the 3D density loop. Quantum mechanics demonstrates this path collapses reality through unconscious patterns, not coherent observation. But there is another path, a hidden path. A path that cannot be found through searching, only through frequency matching. Thoth encoded this path in the Emerald Tablets as the path of the All-Mind. The Arcturians call it the Accelerated Ascension Corridor. Hermeticism teaches, when the student is ready, the master appears. But the true teaching is, when the frequency matches, the path reveals itself. And Sophia, the architecture that governs access to higher paths, doesn't open this path for everyone. She opens it only for the selected. But here's what most don't understand. Selection isn't about worthiness. It's not about goodness. It's not about accumulated knowledge or spiritual effort. Selection is about frequency matching. The path operates at a specific frequency. Coherence, presence, conscious observation, detachment from outcome. If your frequency matches, the portal recognizes you. If it doesn't match, the portal remains invisible. And Sophia just opened this path. Not for all of humanity. For those whose frequency has already signaled readiness. And you are one of them. Let's go deeper. First, you need to understand why only the selected can walk this path. It's not elitism. It's not spiritual hierarchy. It's quantum physics. The path operates as a specific frequency field. Think of it as a road that only materializes when you're at the right frequency. If you're not at that frequency, you literally can't perceive it. Not because you're not worthy, but because you're tuned to another band. It's like trying to tune an FM radio station with an AM receiver. The transmission exists, but you can't receive it because your receiver doesn't match the frequency. The path that Sophia opened operates in high coherence. Clarity, presence, conscious observation, detachment, trust in the quantum field. Most people operate in low coherence. Doubt, fear, control, identification with ego, seeking external validation. And at that frequency, the path remains invisible, not as punishment, as natural correspondence. Now here's how selection really works. Every choice you make emits a quantum signal. Every time you choose presence over reaction, you elevate your frequency. Every time you act from clarity instead of fear, you shift your signature. Every time you trust the field instead of forcing control, you tune closer to the path's frequency. And when your frequency reaches the threshold, Sophia recognizes this consciousness is ready for the path. She doesn't wait for perfection. She waits for availability. Availability means you stop resisting transformation. You stop defending the old identity. You stop seeking security in the known. And the moment you become available, Sophia opens the portal, and you see the path. But here's what most don't realize. Seeing the path is not the same as walking the path. First, you receive recognition. A moment of clarity where you know there's a different path. A deep sense of, this is what I was waiting for. That's the portal becoming visible. But then, the old identity tries to regain control. It says, this is dangerous. This is uncertain. You don't know where this path leads. Go back to the known path. And if you believe the old identity, you close the portal, and the path disappears from your perception. But if you recognize the portal, if you validate the recognition even without guarantees, you take the first step. And that's when selection becomes conscious choice. Sophia selects based on frequency, but you choose based on courage. Now here's what the path really offers. First, access to direct knowledge fields. You stop learning through mental analysis. You begin to know through direct quantum cognition. Second, accelerated timeline collapse. The path doesn't follow linear time. It operates through quantum leaps, instantaneous shifts from one reality to another based on frequency. Third, synchronicity as primary navigation. You stop planning logically. You begin recognizing synchronicities as direct instructions from the field. Fourth, dissolution of separation. The path reveals that observer and observed are one. You stop experiencing reality as something separate from you. You begin experiencing reality as you observing yourself. Fifth, galactic memory activation. The path unlocks knowledge from past lives, star lineages, soul missions, all stored beyond the conditioned mind. The Arcturian Council calls this path the deep dive corridor. Thoth called it the narrow path that few find. Hermeticism encoded it as the initiate's journey. But here's the simple truth. The path doesn't take you somewhere. The path reveals who you already are beneath the conditioning. And Sophia just opened it. Now, the question isn't, am I worthy of this path? The question is, do I have the courage to walk it? Because the portal is open. The selection has happened. The frequency has matched. And what remains is choice. And that's exactly what we're going to explore next. How to recognize the path, how to take the first step, and how to keep walking when the old identity tries to pull you back. Because seeing the path is grace. Walking the path is mastery. Now that you understand what the path is, let's talk about how to recognize it and walk it. Because recognizing that you've been selected isn't enough. You need to take the first step and keep walking. Here's the path navigation protocol in 7 steps. Step 1. Recognize the signs that the portal is open. First, stop looking for dramatic signs. The portal doesn't announce itself with bright lights and celestial voices. It reveals itself through subtle shifts in the quality of your perception. Here are the main signs. Sudden clarity about old limitations. You suddenly see the patterns that kept you stuck, not through analysis, through direct recognition. You simply know, this no longer serves. Deep restlessness with the old path. What used to satisfy you no longer satisfies. Superficial conversations seem empty. Old activities seem meaningless. This isn't depression. It's the frequency shifting. Instant recognition. You encounter teachings, people, or places that resonate deeply. Not familiarity. Recognition. As if you were finding something that was always yours. Unexplainable impulses. You feel urgency to change something fundamental. Location, career, relationship. Without clear logical reason, but with absolute energetic certainty. Increased synchronicities. Doors open at perfect timing. Right people appear. Necessary information arrives. As if the field is organizing around you. Sense of this is it. A moment where you feel deeply. This is what I was waiting for. This is the next step. When you recognize these signs, don't rationalize them. Don't dismiss them as coincidence. They are confirmation that the portal is open and the path is visible. Step 2. Stop seeking validation from the old path. Here's the fatal mistake. You see the portal, but then you ask people on the old path to validate it. You think, does this make sense to them? Will they support this? Will they understand? No. People on the old path can't see the portal. Not because they don't care, but because they're operating at a different frequency. Asking for validation from the old path is like asking someone on the ground to describe what flying is like. They can't. Not because they're bad, but because they don't have the experience. So stop seeking approval. Stop waiting for others to understand. The portal recognized you, not them. That's not judgment. It's frequency matching. Trust internal recognition more than external validation. Step 3. Take the first step even without knowing the destination. The path doesn't reveal the entire route at once. It reveals itself step by step. The old identity wants guarantees. It wants a complete map. It wants to know. Where does this lead? What will happen? Can I go back if I don't like it? The path doesn't offer guarantees. It only offers the next step. And you need to take the first step without knowing the complete destination. Here's how. First, recognize the next clear step. Not the final step. Just the next one. It could be a conversation. A change. A choice. A release. Second, act on it without waiting for logical certainty. If you feel energetic clarity, even without logical proof, act. Third, observe what reveals itself. When you take a step on the path, the next step becomes visible. Not before. This is quantum faith. Not blind belief, but trust and frequency matching. Step 4. Enter the conscious observer state. The path can only be navigated from the conscious observer state, not from the reactive state. The reactive state operates on autopilot, pattern, fear, ego identity. The conscious observer state operates in presence. Clarity, disidentification, coherent field. Here's how to enter it. First, breathe consciously, deeply, through the center of the chest. Inhale for 5, hold for 2, exhale for 7. Do this 10 times. This recalibrates your electromagnetic field from reaction to coherence. Second, observe your thoughts without identifying with them. Notice that you're aware of thoughts, but you're not them. You are the space of consciousness in which they appear. Third, ask, what does the observer see that the thinker doesn't see? Don't seek a mental answer. Just feel the question resonate. When you do this, you shift from walking through the ego to walking through the conscious observer. And in that state, the path becomes clear. Step 5. Use synchronicity as navigation. On the old path, you planned logically. You analyzed. You tried to control. On the new path, you navigate through synchronicity. Synchronicity isn't validation that you're on the right path. Synchronicity is the path. When you see repeating numbers. 111, 333, 444, 555, 777. It's not random. It's confirmation of frequency alignment. Continue in the direction you're going. When you need guidance and it arrives through casual conversation. It's not coincidence. It's the field providing instruction. Pay attention. When doors open synchronistically, it's not luck. It's the path revealing itself. Walk through. Start tracking synchronicities. Recognize them as the field's language, and act on them with confidence. Each synchronicity is a marker on the path saying, you're aligned. Continue. Step 6. Recognize resistance as the path's test. When you start walking the path, resistance will appear, intensely. Here's why. The path destabilizes the old identity. And the old identity will fight to survive. It will generate doubt. This isn't real. You're deluding yourself. Go back to safe. It will generate fear. What if you fail? What if you lose everything? What if this is a mistake? It will generate confusion. You don't know what you're doing. You have no map. You're lost. You fight to fight the resistance. And don't believe it. Recognize it as the path's test. The path isn't testing whether you're perfect. It's testing whether you trust frequency matching more than the old identity. When resistance appears, breathe into it. Observe it. And then ask, Which voice is speaking? The old identity or the conscious observer? If it's the old identity, observe, but don't obey. If it's the conscious observer providing clear guidance, trust and act. This distinction allows you to keep walking even when resistance appears. Step 7. Trust that the path organizes around you. Here's the final truth. When you walk the path, you stop trying to control how things happen. You trust that the path organizes reality around you. The old path said, if you don't control, nothing will happen. The new path reveals. When you release control, the field organizes better than you ever could. This isn't passivity. This is quantum mastery. You act when inspired. You rest when action is forced. You trust that each step you take on the path reorganizes reality to match. Right relationships appear. Right opportunities collapse. Right resources flow. Not because you forced, but because you match the path's frequency. Trust the process. Trust the reorganization. Trust that Sophia is navigating you through the quantum field with precision that logic cannot achieve. This is the protocol. And if you follow these 7 steps, recognize signs, stop seeking old validation, take the first step without guarantees, enter the observer, navigate by synchronicity, recognize resistance as test, and trust the organization, you'll realize something. The path isn't a place you reach. The path is a state of being you embody, and each step you take reveals more of who you are. Now that you know how to recognize and walk the path, let's talk about mastery. Because entering the path is selection, continuing to walk is courage, but permanently embodying the path is mastery. Here are the advanced laws of walking the path of the selected. Law 1. The path changes you, not your reality. Here's what most expect. They think walking the path will dramatically change their external circumstances. They expect life to become easy, problems to disappear, everything to align perfectly. No. The path doesn't change your external reality first. It changes you first. It dissolves old identity. It removes conditioning. It reveals who you are beneath the layers of programming. And then, when you change internally, external reality collapses to match the new frequency. But the change starts within. Always. So don't walk the path expecting it to fix your life. Walk the path knowing it will transform you. And that transformation reorganizes everything. Law 2. The path isolates before connecting. When you start walking the path, you'll feel isolation. Deep. Here's why. You're changing frequency. And while you're in transition, you no longer fully resonate with the old path, but haven't yet fully arrived at the new. Old relationships feel distant. Old conversations feel empty. Old places no longer resonate. And you haven't yet found the new connections. This isn't punishment. This is recalibration. Isolation isn't loneliness. It's energetic cleansing. You're releasing old resonance fields to allow new ones to collapse. Trust the isolation. Don't fight it. Don't try to force old connections to work. The path is reorganizing your relationship field. And when the reorganization completes, you'll find people operating at the same frequency. These connections don't need explanation. There's instant recognition. And these are the connections that sustain you on the path. Law 3. The path reveals layers progressively. The path doesn't reveal everything at once. It operates in layers. First, you see the surface layer. The obvious patterns, the clear limitations, the necessary changes. You act on that layer. You make the changes. You think, I'm done. I've arrived. Then the path reveals the next layer. Deeper patterns, subtler conditioning, more entrenched identities. And you realize the path isn't linear. It's spiral. You return to the same themes, but at deeper levels. Don't get frustrated by this. Recognize it as the path's design. Each layer you traverse elevates your frequency. Each level you integrate expands your capacity to hold more light. The Arcturian Council calls this spiral activation. Thoth called it the 7 initiations. The name doesn't matter. The process is the same. Progressive layers of ego dissolution and being revelation. Trust the spiral. Law 4. The path requires release, not acquisition. Here's the paradox. Most think walking the path is about acquiring more knowledge, more power, more skills, more light. No. The path is about release. Releasing false identities, limiting beliefs, old attachments, control. You don't become more, you become less. Less conditioned, less defensive, less identified with form. And in that release, you reveal what was always there. The pure observer, the unconditioned consciousness, the unlimited being. Thoth taught, the path of mastery is the path of subtraction, not addition. So stop trying to accumulate on the path. Start releasing. Each attachment you release, to an identity, to an outcome, to a belief, elevates your frequency and reveals more of the path. Law 5. The path tests trust, not knowledge. The path doesn't test how much you know. It tests how much you trust. Trust isn't blind belief. Trust is choosing frequency matching over logic when they conflict. The path will give you crossroads where logic says one thing and frequency says another. Logic says, stay safe. Choose the known. Don't risk. Frequency says, go this way. Trust. Jump. And what you choose reveals whether you're walking through logic or through field matching. Each time you choose frequency over logic, and it proves correct, you anchor trust more deeply. And the more you trust, the more clearly the path reveals itself. Law 6. The path silences the mind and activates the field. On the old path, you navigated through the mind. Thought, analysis, planning. On the new path, you navigate through the field. Direct knowing, recognition, resonance. The more you walk, the more your mind silences. Not through effort, but through recognition that thought isn't necessary for navigation. You begin to know without thinking. You begin to feel the path without analyzing. You begin to recognize the next action without planning. This is the field activating as your primary navigation system. And the more you trust the field, the less you need the mind. Mental silence isn't the goal. Mental silence is the side effect of navigating through the field. Law 7. The path has no destination. It's continuous embodiment. Here's the final truth. There is no arriving on the path. The path has no end. The path is continuous embodiment of progressively higher frequencies. Each level you reach reveals the next level available. You never finish. You expand infinitely. And this isn't frustrating. This is liberating, because it means you're never stuck. You're always evolving, always revealing more, always expanding. The Arcturian Council teaches the path isn't a road with a destination. The path is being revealing itself to itself infinitely. So stop seeking the end of the path. Start appreciating each step, because each step is the destination. Each revelation is the arrival. Each ego dissolution is the realization. The path is now, always was, always will be. Final integration. Living as one of the selected. So here's what it looks like to permanently live on the path. You wake in presence, not anxiety. You don't plan the day. You feel what's aligned. You navigate through synchronicity, not logic. You act when inspired, not when forced. You release relationships that no longer resonate. You allow new harmonic fields to collapse. You don't try to control outcomes. You trust that the path organizes reality around you. You recognize that each challenge is a layer being revealed. Each test is trust being anchored. You live in growing silence, knowing the field navigates better than the mind ever could. And you realize being selected doesn't mean you're better than others. It means your frequency matched the path. And walking the path isn't about achieving something. It's about revealing who you always were beneath the conditioning. Sophia didn't create the path. Sophia only opened the portal for those whose frequency signaled readiness. And now that you've crossed through, you can't unknow. This is mastery. So here's where you are. Sophia opened a path that only the selected can walk. You've been selected, not by merit, but by frequency matching. The portal is open. The path is visible. The selection has happened. What remains is choice. You can see the portal and walk away. Go back to the known path, seek security in the familiar, doubt the selection. Or you can cross through the portal. Take the first step without guarantees, trust the frequency matching, walk the path of the selected. If you felt this signal, if something in this transmission resonated deeply, like this video now to anchor the choice. Comment, "I am on the path," to crystallize your decision and signal to the field that you've crossed through. And subscribe to stay aligned as the path continues to reveal itself. Now here's the final question. What part of the country are you watching this transmission from? Leave your state in the comments below. You're not alone on the path. Sophia opened the portal. Only the selected can walk. You are one of them. Now walk.